Hello everyone. So let me give you um, some ideas about earning money from open source technologies. And this is something that I have done and I'm still doing, to be honest. And I think I can definitely give you my uh, not really an advice, but maybe I can share whatever I was able to do. So if you let us say are really good in let us say Linux, and you want to at the same time be financially independent, because I know people who are maybe in a full-time job, and they at the same time have this desire to be on their own, like financially independent. They may want to start their own startup, but you don't really need to always have a startup. If you want to be financially independent, you can just do some small uh, consultation for other people. It could be you being a freelancer, it could be you providing some services, maybe uh, just you. I mean, you might not even have a team. So I don't really think you need to be working in a company, or you need to set up a company to basically earn money. I think earning money could be as simple as maybe you have built something that you want to sell, or maybe you are maybe in a way uh, just getting paid for the time. So basically services. And I think if you are considering making this move, or maybe you want to start somewhere, so what I can recommend is, and this is what this is what I am recommending based on my experience. This is what I did, and I was able to do it, I think, quite nicely. Let us say you're working in an organization. You are a full-time employee. So first check your employment contract. I think whenever you're doing something or maybe earning money, let us say, like from your own side project, you should first check your employment contract and try to understand whether there is a whether the company that you're working for has any restriction on you earning money from elsewhere. In most cases, I don't really think it is a problem as long as you're doing it in your own time. Maybe you're doing something on weekends, or maybe you're doing something after work. Uh, so check your contract. That is number one. Number two, you should be based on your location. You should be eligible to do it. Uh, Maybe you are in a different country where you are on a visa, so you might not have rights to to work on your own. So just check your just check these legal things. If let us say there is nothing stopping you from doing it, then you should first try to figure out what exactly you want to do. What I started doing um, very early, I was writing code, C++ code, and I was doing it for, I was basically helping others make their school project. And because I was quite okay, not really good, but quite okay in coding, in C especially, C or C++. And that was one of my strengths. Then I got really good in Visual Basic, and I thought, okay, maybe I can build projects using Visual Basic. But the real open source based consultancy that I started doing uh, was on Linux. So I used to, I mean, early 2000s, it was not very easy to basically do even simple things on Linux. Even to install a new application, you had to compile it from source. So you would download source code and then you will compile it. It won't compile, then you would resolve the dependencies. So it was a painful process, and it took me uh, some time to figure out whether I should do like a pure Linux consultation, or I should just focus on training. So I started doing Linux consultancy because I used to get inquiries, and and I was able to actually help other companies like setting up their infrastructure, installing or maintaining their Linux-based uh, machines. But at the same time, one thing that really uh, helped me or gave me an idea was doing trainings. And training is, in a way, a bit simpler because when you do a training on a certain topic, what you can do is you can just create your own content. Let us say you want to start your own Linux training on Linux fundamentals, right? Nothing else, just Linux fundamentals. It could be a 4 hour training course that you can probably try to promote and sell. Now, how you do that training is up to you. Maybe it could be classroom training or online training, but let us say you have this course that you have built, and when you're doing the trainings, it could be on any open source technology. Let us say you're good in let me give you another example. Let us say you're good in GIMP, right? So GIMP is a very popular open source tool application for image manipulation. Or maybe you want to provide training on Blender, for example, right? It could be anything. It could be anything that you really like doing. I think that is very important. You should definitely love doing it. And I'm saying this along with your job, right? So maybe you're still working. It is in the beginning. So make like couple of courses or maybe just one course, really good course, and then uh, try to promote it, try to maybe sell it, maybe reach out to some local training centers. This is what I did, by the way. I actually contacted some local training centers in Delhi because in Delhi, there is a huge market of uh, computer institutes. So I used to tell them, can I use your setup maybe for 1 day or 2 days or half a day? And if you talk to like few people or few institutes, they will definitely give you or let you. But I think these days things are much easier because you can do it online. Doing things online is difficult. It is not easy, but there's no like I mean, you can do it from your home, right? You just need to be organized. So this is what you can do. Like start with a training, and I think when you are doing something with open source technologies, starting a training based service is, I believe, a very easy. It might not be easy for each and everyone, but if you think you have that skill of talking to people, I mean, to be honest, I'm not really a very social person. I'm not massively comfortable like talking to other human beings, if you know what I mean, right? But when you're doing training, it's like a professional engagement. You're talking about these 10 things that you agreed with your audience before selling it, right? So if let us say you're selling your course to someone, they know what they are going to get out of it. So usually it is not very difficult if you're able to maybe build not only the training outline but also the training material. So let us say you're doing training on Linux fundamentals. So you can basically have maybe a combination of commands along with some kind of slides or documentation that you can follow in those 4 hours. So make these training courses and then sell it. I think this is probably the most simplest, easiest way to uh, earn money from open source technologies. And you can also do, as I mentioned, a mix of training or consultation. So maybe you can do consultation. The same company where you're doing consultation, they might want to get their employees trained on something. For example, I do trainings on. I mean, it is not really open source, but I think this is actually applicable to anything, any proprietary based software as well. So I'm a Jira consultant, right? I do consultation, but at the same time, I also, as part of the consultation, training is also one service, right? Uh, so this is what I do, and when I started doing these trainings on Linux, it helped me in it actually helped me in a couple of things. Number one, I got more comfortable talking to people. Number two, I was of course earning money, so it is always good to earn money because if you're trying to maybe run your own small company, or maybe if you're trying to maybe become a freelancer, earning money is very important. So you have to be profitable. That is number one. So if you're trying to do some consultation on open source based technologies. Don't think that if you're doing something on open source, you have to be cheap. You have to be actually, I mean, try to charge based on your cost of living wherever you are maybe living. For example, if you're in, let us say, if you're in Delhi, right? If you're in India or anywhere in India, I'll talk about Delhi. So because I was in Delhi, Delhi is of course the capital. It's not really uh, a cheap place to live, but at the same time, the amount that you would charge if you're in Delhi, or if you're providing, like, let us say, a training in Delhi or London, for example, that is where I'm based right now. The cost of your training, of your, so basically you have to figure out the time, uh, or the hourly time of yours. So let us say if every month you need to maybe uh, pay your bill, pay for the food, rent, or mortgage or home loan, whatever your monthly needs are, bare minimum. Let us say it is 50,000 rupees in India, right? On top of that, you also need to think about how much money you want to uh, earn so that you can be a bit more comfortable about your future as well. So let us say you need roughly 1 lakh rupees per month. So charge accordingly, right? So if you're, let us say, doing trainings uh, for, let us say, you're working 20 days in a month, right? So divide that number with your uh, number of days that you are going to work every month, right? And you will get, you will hopefully get your daily cost or monthly cost. I mean, of course, I'm just making it up based on these things that you need to worry about. And this, and people who are going to take your training or your consultation or your service, they're also going to pay based on where they are, right, or where they live, or maybe based on the location. For example, if someone approaches me in India and they know that I am in India, I'm going to provide these services in India, uh, the cost will be different. Uh, and it will be, of course, different if I'm doing the same thing in the UK for a UK based client. So that is how it is. And you have to basically figure out that number so that you know how much you should be charging. So, what I'm trying to say is that forget about open source, think about how much money you need to live a comfortable life and charge accordingly based on your location. And people will pay, right? And you can be competitive, but to be honest, if you're really good in something, let us say you provide Linux fundamentals training, or you provide training on GIMP or Inkspace or Blender, right? Whatever. Just think that you're the best. Whatever you're doing is really good. So make your training course really, 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 really good so that when someone is basically paying you to get your service or a training, they get value out of it. So if you're really good in what you're doing, then uh, you don't have to worry about the competition. That is my feeling. That is how I feel, because the person who is trying to approach you, let us say you get an inquiry from someone that we want to buy this course, but the other institute is or the other company or other consultant is charging maybe half. So don't worry about it. Let them go to the other company. Just focus on what you're doing, and uh, and that is where the idea of niche comes into picture. If you are able to find your own niche, then you can be expensive. So that is also another point that I thought I'll probably make. All right, that is all. Uh, I just wanted to give you some ideas, right? And I'm sure a lot of people who want to, do something on their own, but at the same time, they don't really want to set up a company, or they don't really want to work for a company or work for a big company, but at the same time, they want to be financially independent. I think that is how it should be. I'm not really against the idea of corporate jobs. I think that is also fine. We also need that, but majority of us should also consider uh, working for for us for themselves. And if you're able to, let us say, do it for a while. Let us say you started doing the training or services, and maybe you have been doing it regularly, successfully, earning money for 1 year, then think about leaving your job, right? But try to do it along with your job. If you're not massively comfortable leaving your job, and if you need to work, if you need to, do your job to basically support your family, then you need to do it, right? So there is no shame in it. Do it as long as you have to do it, but at the same time, also don't complain, don't make excuses. Start start working hard. I don't really think if you spend a couple of hours every day, uh, or maybe a bit more than a couple of hours on weekends, I don't really think it is not really doable. It is definitely doable, and that is where the whole idea of uh, being passionate about what you are trying to do comes into play. If you really like doing what you're doing, then you won't really feel like working hard. You'll probably spend maybe 2 or 3 or more than. I mean, there is no like fixed number of hours that you should be spending every day. The idea, the important part is that you should be able to do it uh, regularly. You should be consistent. So if you're doing something, if you want to do something, and you have like this end goal, like a milestone, then you have to work like every day, or basically don't stop, don't give up. That is really important. If you I know that when you start doing something, you may not get the results immediately. For example, you may start promoting your course or service, but you may not get any inquiries. But there are, I think, these days things are very easy for anyone to promote whatever they are doing. Set up your own website or start a YouTube channel, maybe shout on social media, or maybe use paid advertisements. I also used to do actual physical ads in local magazines, and that actually helped me because people read these magazines, and you will definitely get response. So I think when you are prepared and you want to talk, when you want to prepared about when you're prepared about what you are supposed to sell, or what you're supposed to do as a consultancy, or maybe as a freelancer, you will definitely find someone somewhere who is interested in what you're doing or what you can offer. All right, that is it. I know I've been talking for 17 minutes, but hopefully I've given you some ideas. Bye bye.